Hi everyone, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, please make sure you like and subscribe. That way you'll get my updated videos. Today I'm just going to do a really quick Q&A of just some of the questions that I received. I know a lot of you had questions, and then some people wanted social tips and things, so I'm going to do a video coming up of social tips, but not today. One of the questions I got was, did you struggle with math? And they want to learn more about my social skills. So I'm going to talk about the math. I did struggle a lot with math. In elementary school, in 4th grade, I was in detention every day because, well, at the end of the day, to finish my math homework, because I almost every single day did not do my math homework. I don't really recall myself if I thought it was just too hard or I just didn't like math, but I was there almost every day. And then by 5th grade, I started really liking math, because that's when we started doing timed tests, you know, for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all that. And I loved trying to see how many I could get done in 1 minute. And then I would remember that number, and the next time we had the quiz, I would try to get more done. You know, I always loved trying to improve myself. Middle school, I don't really remember. I asked my mom about that, and she said she doesn't remember me having any issues either. The only thing I know I learned in middle school that was difficult was in art class. We learned how to use a ruler. And I can tell you right now, I can still only talk about inches and centimeters. Don't ask me what the little lines are, because I have no clue. And I did have a teacher that tried to teach a lesson about it once. I didn't understand it, so he started the lesson over. And during his lesson, I asked the girl across the table a question about it, because I still wasn't really understanding it. And he thought I wasn't listening, so once again, I got what was called a pink slip and ended up having to visit the principal, because my teacher thought that I did not care that he was doing a lesson over for me, when in fact I was very much listening. I just really did not understand it. High school, it was normal for my family. All the kids in my family used a tutor starting in 9th grade. I had a really, really wonderful math tutor. She used a lot of visuals and colors and taught me all these hints and tricks you can do on the calculator to make the math problems easier. I did also go to the teachers themselves for extra help, like during lunch periods and things. Another question I got was, I would love some tips from you on how you learned, and some social skills tips. Again, I'm going to save social skills for another time, but some learning tips I have is, I really like eye contact. I think it's a really good thing to practice. I think it helps you soak in more even if you don't think you're understanding what the teacher or the person is saying. As long as you're following you have your eyes on their eyes, I feel like you take in more. And I think then they look at you more, because they feel that you are really paying attention to what they have to say. So then I think it's easier for you to catch things, because they are looking directly at you as well. My mother also used to give me my older siblings tests. I have 3 older siblings, and whenever it came time for like a history or social studies test or a math test, she, and I didn't know this at the time, I honestly thought she was coming up with these questions on her own, because she is a teacher, so I just thought like this was amazing, because then I would go to take the test, and the questions would be really similar. So I would get really excited because I knew the answers. That was super, super helpful, and that's actually what I plan to do with my girls, because I do have, even for my oldest, I have nieces and nephews that are just a few years older than her in school, and I plan to start asking their parents for their tests and things to try to help my girls. So I think that's a fantastic way to study. And then I just did lots of memorizing. I would just make a really neat note of whatever the lessons were that day, and I would just chunk it up and try to memorize it so that when I got to school for a test or whatever, I could just visualize it in my head. I'm very, very visual. The next question I have is, when you talk about passing on your identical mutated gene, does this mean that they were able to identify the mutation? And my answer to that is no. They have not been able to identify the mutation. My saying that I have passed on my identical mutated gene, that is Dr. Scher's, I guess you would call it like his hypothesis, I think. I'm not sure if I'm using the right word there. I have not had any actual testing done yet by him. I have had meetings with him, and from going over things, that is what he thinks, is that my parents don't have it, and that something in me mutated, and somehow I passed that on identically to my daughter, who has the PACC, because she is not having really any other issues. And so I'm supposed to do the testing though for them hopefully this year. They're also going to be testing my parents. Dr. Scher wants them to get MRIs just to prove his theory. And my siblings are supposed to be doing some tests to see if they genetically would have it to pass on. But his assumption of all of this is that I'm the only one in my family that has it. You know, I guess things have to start somewhere to be genetically passed on. I don't know. So I don't really know much about the testing yet, but I know I'm about to get thrown into a bunch of it. And what I can tell you is to just keep watching my videos, because as I and my family go on this journey of doing the different tests, I will be doing these YouTube videos about it, and I will let people know what we come up with, what we find, and the different tests that they have us do. I had another person say to me, let's see here. I'm curious about the developing years. I'm always wondering what adaptations kids use to get along with others. Again, eye contact is a big one. I would say a big thing to help get along with others is setting expectations. My mother always did this, and I will always remember this. Before getting out of the car at my best friend's house, whose house I was at least every other day, she would give us the expectations. You know, remember to say please and thank you, be nice, you know, all the proper remembering to use our manners and things. And she would warn us of that before getting out of the car. And then even going to the store, she would give us her expectations of how this is how I expect you to act in the store. And there were some days where it was, this is how you're going to act. Please don't ask me for anything. My answer will be no. Or there were days, you know, when it was, this is how I expect you to act in the store. If you can do an excellent job, I will allow you to pick one thing out in the checkout line, you know, because there was always those little, like, 50-cent candies or whatever. So that was really helpful. Let's see. My last question was, we have never been given any information from the research studies. You mentioned a mutation. Is that what it had been decided for sure, or just for you? I'm anxiously awaiting some kind of results from this, and does that only mean a mutation for you or for all of your siblings? The information that the NODCC does for its research goes into like a big pot. It is for the NODCC, Caltech University, and the researchers there, Lynn Paul and Warren Brown. It helps to come up with statistics. So if you do any of their testing, whether it's out there in California or online for them or at their conferences, you won't get results back from that, even from like the MRIs that they may have you do, because it just goes into their big pot of everybody's information to come up with statistics. Let's see. The mutation that I know of has been decided just for me, but then again, I know it has not been decided for everyone, but maybe it has been decided for a few others. I just don't know. But we will be doing more tests that will help determine what gene to look for in other people. Like I said before, they'll be testing my siblings, and they will be testing the girls, my kids, to find out what gene Natalie, my oldest, has that my daughter with ACC and I don't have. So on that, I hopefully have not made this video too long. Thank you for listening to me. Make sure you subscribe and like my video. Next week I'm going to try to do a video on becoming more independent as an adult, because I did get some questions on that, and I'll be doing some upcoming videos on my social skills and tips that I have for people. And thank you again for listening, and remember, this disorder doesn't define you, you define the disorder.